So I think that we can change everything. Through the lens of social change and transformative justice, anything is possible, but we need to galvanize a community to do it. I believe that there are many, many different factors that we can put into play to improve safety in our communities. Why do I think change is possible? Because a dozen students at the high school level called themselves the relationship rookies, and they prepared and presented a consent education module and distributed it throughout the middle school youth in their district. Let me tell you, when middle schoolers listen to high schoolers, it's a lot different than when they hear it from somebody like me. Another amazing community project was surveying and putting together a community roundtable project for the LGBTQ plus community in Northwest Colorado, where we can make recommendations to law enforcement, local government, the education system, medical and mental health providers, and within a year and a half, open the Queer Futures Resource Center. And finally, the Artist Survival Project assembled 25 artists to create new works honoring survivors for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We gathered them all together for a gala celebration and put them on stage with a state senator who lauded the efforts of professional advocates and a human trafficking survivor who told their story powerful enough to raise 20 grand for the local shelter. What do these things have in common? All of them merge creativity with service. The models that we've been working with have been effective for supporting people who've already been hurt, but we need new innovations. Why am I the guy talking about it, though? Well, I spent a lot of time in the creative sector, about 40 stage presentations, a lot of Shakespeare, and even got to be the mascot for the Durham Bulls baseball team for a while. It was pretty fun being a part-time celebrity, I gotta tell you. But it's not all fun and games, especially after I saw the towers fall from my roof in Brooklyn in 2001. Suddenly, art for entertainment's sake wasn't enough, so I pivoted from theater and started using spoken word poetry, a creative form of citizens journalism through the lens that I was applying it. And I found this to be so extremely valuable that I packaged it into educational modules for high-risk youth and juvenile inmates so they could learn to express themselves, learn to tackle challenging themes like freedom, the future, and their identity. I got to partner with the Lake Eden Arts Festival and bring a cohort of juvenile inmates to the festival to share their original work. And in front of an audience of 150, they got a standing ovation. The social worker that was one of the chaperones there leans into me and says, "This might be one of the single most self-esteem generating events of these young men's entire life. We can move the needle." So when I was invited to create a touring program to colleges across the United States on consent to be applied to freshman orientations and gender studies classes, I jumped at the opportunity because there's a personal mission for me too. I'm a secondary survivor of domestic violence. I wasn't always the one being attacked, but I know the fallout firsthand. So my personal mission, merging with the professional mission, meant that I wanted to do it right. I turned to the CDC for models about how do we actually affect social change. They had something called the socio-ecological model that said that if we have different approaches for different parts of society, we can affect everyone simultaneously. But society is crazy. We're bombarded by sexual images and storylines and movies and TV and music from every direction all the time. Never mind the internet. We're being told that we're supposed to be ashamed of it. We can't talk about it publicly, that it's dirty. Well, if we're going to actually confront violence, we need to look at the whole of the picture. We can't be in a silo because it is about gender identity and orientation. It is about online safety. It is about dose drinks in our little tourist town. It is about workplace conduct. It is about the fallout of trauma in our communities. And it's definitely about the role of love as a cohesive element bringing us together. We can take the knowledge that is already out there, amazing research, extraordinary experiences, and package them into educational models to reach specific populations for their needs, about consent, about online safety, and about intervening when you see problem behavior so it doesn't escalate to a serious incident. We can take all this education, target it to schools, businesses, social groups, meet them where they're at. But what we're doing is getting everybody on the same page about the scope and nature of the issue and using a similar vocabulary so we can start collaborating more effectively as a community. In my 10 years, I've looked at violence prevention through two pillars. One is awareness raising as well as skill building. Creative campaigns can be extremely impactful. They can reach people in a way that few other things can. The creativity is what does it. You can seize someone's imagination. Some of you may know my daddy taught me that. An extraordinary local program that served me up a squad of young leaders who wanted to learn about consent and gender equity so they could be leaders in their own community, one that I don't really have as much access to. So I'm thankful for that collaboration and for the new leadership. But let me tell you something, coalitions are where it's at. If we want to affect large-scale change with a bunch of institutional support, professionals who know what they're talking about, offering a good faith effort, we can move the needle on so many things. Collaboration is everything, my friends. But ultimately, it comes down to each of us as an individual, taking responsibility, recognizing that we have a role to play in making our own communities safer. We can influence the people in our lives if we get our own awareness raised and we learn actionable information that we can share with everyone. Then we're speaking the same language and we can do something. I want to give you a moment to take this quote in. Consider yourself from this moment forward an agent of change. I hope that you will be open to collaborating with your peers, allies, family, and friends. And I hope that little by little we all get a little more aspirational. Thank you so much.